Of the 1996 World Series, we get ready to roll. The Yankees are on the field, and a look at the Boston Market starting lineup. First for the Braves, Marquise Grissom will lead it off. Then it's Mark Lemke batting second at second with Chipper Jones hitting third. Fred McGriff cleaning up at first base. Javi Lopez, the NLCS MVP. Then it's Jermaine Dye in right, Andrew Jones in left, Ryan Klesko DHing hitting eighth, and playing short batting ninth is Jeff Blauser, the shortstop. A look at the Yankees defense with Derek Jeter, the rookie, at short. That defense playing behind the left-hander. 21 game winner, 24-year-old, it's Andy Pettitte.
Andy Pettitte, a four-pitch pitcher. We talked about his cut fastball right at the top. That was without a doubt his best pitch. Makes him very effective against right-handed hitters. He also throws an occasional curve, a good hard slider, and a changeup down in the zone.
Bob, with that cut fastball into right-handed batters, the two guys that come into play, the left side of the infield, Derek Jeter at shortstop and Wade Boggs at third base. Boggs with sure hands, but he does not have a lot of range. Here's Wade.
He's had a tough time at the plate. Never has he had a tough time in the field. He can still pick it over at third base. And this Yankee defense is ready to go. For the Atlanta Braves, coming back into the World Series to defend their title against Joe Torre's New York Yankees, his first trip ever to the World Series. Talking to Tim McCarver the other day, said, now finally I have something to talk about with you guys. I know what you went through in the World Series. And he is here for the first time, and what an ovation he got during the starting lineups. Just sent chills down your spine.
Deafening.
Here's Marquise Grissom leading it off for Atlanta with Lemke and Jones to follow. And pitch number one of the 1996 World Series. Ball one.
You'll see Leyritz move in underneath the hands of the right-handed hitters. That usually indicates that Pettitte's going to throw that cut fastball inside. Here he goes again.
2-0. Grissom pops it up. Into left, Strawberry. 1 out. So a good start for Pettitte. He falls behind 2-0, but he does himself and the Yankees a favor by keeping Grissom off base. And the batter now is Mark Lemke. It's cold. We're playing baseball. That must mean it's probably October, and that means that Mark Lemke is ready to go. He was a close second in the NLCS for MVP. And what he did in this postseason helping the Atlanta Braves get to the World Series is nothing short of remarkable yet again for little Mark Lemke. Grew up a Yankee fan. 1 ball, 1 strike. Big breaking ball is low and away. 2-1 as Pettitte has fallen behind the first two hitters.
That's not totally unusual. Pettitte gives up more than a hit an inning. He walks his share of batters, 72 this season in 221 innings.
That's out of play.
You may be wondering why Jim Leyritz is the catcher in the opening game of the 1996 series. That's because Andy Pettitte is 25-9 with Leyritz catching, and 8-8 with other catchers.
Yankee Stadium crowd wants a strikeout. Instead, Lemke pops it up. In foul territory, Jeter out of room, and that will keep Lemke at the plate.
Well, much like the situation that the Braves have when Greg Maddux is on the mound and throwing to Eddie Perez, although he threw to Javi Lopez in the NLCS and pitched a very good ball game, but Pettitte just feels more comfortable throwing to Leyritz. They work very well together. As you see, a great effort here by Derek Jeter to go up in the friendly fans in the box seats there. I don't know if Jeff Blauser would have such luck going up into those stands.
They're friendly when a guy in white comes over to visit. They look friendly, don't they? 2 balls, 2 strikes on Lemke. Leyritz. Plenty of room. 2 out.
A lot of room behind home plate here at Yankee Stadium, directly behind home plate. You lose a lot of the foul ground as you move down the lines past the bases, but directly behind home plate, a lot of room to cover for a catcher.
Here's Chipper Jones hitting third in this Atlanta lineup. Batting right-handed, has more power from the other side of the plate, and again Pettit deals ball one.
Speaking of the other side of the plate, Andy Pettit has not tried the other side of the plate yet. He has started off inside to all the right-handed batters. There it is again.
And again, it's 2-0.
This is a dangerous pitch to Chipper Jones.
Into right center, slicing to O'Neill, and a 1-2-3 first half inning for Andy Pettit. Great start. Yankees come to the plate. Bottom of the first in game one, no score.
This is about.
Already for the bottom of the first inning. Andy Pettit able to smile, I'm sure, a bit more relaxed after those first 3 outs. And here is the Boston market starting lineup for the Yankees. They'll lead it off with Derek Jeter at short. Then it's Wade Boggs at third. Bernie Williams is hitting third, the ALCS MVP. Then Tino Martinez at first base. Cecil Fielder DHing. Darryl Strawberry in left. Paul O'Neill in right. Mariano Duncan at second base. And Jim Leyritz catching and hitting ninth. To look at the defense for Atlanta. One thing you'll notice about Marquise Grissom, he will play shallow. And in a stadium like Yankee Stadium with a lot of ground out in center and left center, we'll see how he will get along during this World Series and on the mound. As we've already mentioned, 8-1 in 16 postseason starts, 24-8 during the regular year. It's John Smoltz.
I think one of the reasons that Marquise Grissom is going to come into play in this game is because of Smoltz's ability to get most of his outs either via the strikeout or the fly ball. So look for a lot of activity in center field tonight.
John Smoltz already is 3-0 in 1996. He won game one of the division series with the Dodgers. And he won 2 games, including games 1 and 5 in the NLCS with St. Louis. Here is Derek Jeter. What a rookie season for young Derek. .314 during the regular season. And he looks at a ball. One thing that we've talked about off air a little bit, it's going to be interesting to watch these Braves pitchers, and maybe not necessarily with John Smoltz, but other Atlanta hurlers when an American League umpire is behind the plate. Jeter pops it up to the right side for Lemke. He struggles on pop-ups, but able to catch up to it, one away.
Well, Joe, the reason for that is that, generally speaking, most American League umpires are not as liberal giving the outside corner that the Atlanta pitchers need to be successful. Greg Maddux will go tomorrow night. Fortunately for the Braves, they will have a National League umpire behind the plate, Terry Tatum.
Here is Wade Boggs, only 3 out of 27 during the postseason. Looks at a strike. Behind home plate from the American League, it's Jim Evans. Terry Tata, Tim Welke, and Steve Ripley on the bases. Larry Young down the left field line, and Jerry Davis down the right field line. To the left side, Blauser. 2 up, 2 down. So 2 away here in the first inning, and Boggs now 3 out of 28. This postseason, the batter will be Bernie Williams.
Should get a huge ovation here at Yankee Stadium, in a town and a ballpark that can chew up young players. Bernie Williams has risen to the occasion and really endeared himself to these Yankee fans.
Bernie Williams having by far his breakthrough season in 1996. Hitting .305 with the 29 home runs, a career high. 102 RBIs, a career high. Taking his own sweet time getting into the batter's box here in the first inning. And with 2 out, nobody on, facing John Smoltz. Ball 1 inside.
Well, that's something that the Yankee hitters may try to do, to throw the Braves pitchers off their rhythm, particularly Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. John Smoltz not as much as the other ones, as you see the scouting report on Bernie Williams. High ball hitter, likes the ball up and out over the plate from both sides.
2-0.
Getting back to my point, the Braves pitchers like to get the ball and work very quickly. And the Yankee hitters, at least a couple times I saw them throughout the season, were very deliberate. Like to get out of the box, like to take their time.
Joe Girardi looking at a scouting report. I think he has my copy of it. 2 out, nobody on here in the first inning. 2-0 from Smoltz is low and in. 3-0.
A couple bucks to the concierge, you'll pull it right back from underneath your door, you know.
That's all it takes. Jeter popped up. Boggs grounded out. And with 2 out, nobody on, it's a 3-0 count on Bernie Williams. The old automatic on 3-0 is 3-1.
I have a feeling if John Smoltz throws that same fastball again, Bernie Williams is going to come out of his shoes. We just saw the scouting report. He likes that fastball up over the plate, and that was it right there.
Got a shot at Tino Martinez. He waits on deck. Good pitch, 3-2.
That was a much better pitch than the 3-0 pitch. You'll notice Javier Lopez moving away. Generally speaking, when a pitcher is behind in the count, it's best to go away from a hitter, especially a power hitter. When you're ahead in the count, that's the best time to go inside to a hitter.
2 out, nobody on. 3-2 is ball 4. And a first inning walk issued by John Smoltz.
And John Smoltz showing his respect for Bernie Williams by throwing him a 3-2 split finger fastball after pumping 2 heaters in a row in there to run the count to 3-2.
So the 2 out walk, and that brings in Tino Martinez. Hard to believe Tino Martinez in the postseason hitting only .216, but no runs driven in. Strike 1. Our Fox box, top left-hand corner of your screen, the red dot at first base indicating Bernie Williams held on by McGriff. 2 out, no score, and an 0-1 count on Tino Martinez. Good pitch. Strike 2. Was that the splitter again?
Yep. Most of the time, you folks at home can tell what pitch it is, especially from John Smoltz. If it goes down like that, it's a splitter. See that tumbling motion, usually out of the strike zone when it's effective.
Check on Williams, pretty close. Bernie may do a little running with 2 strikes on Tino Martinez.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to do that. Remember, we talked about it in the opening, how Joe Torre has opened up the New York Yankee offense. Very close, but the hand was back in there.
Williams a career high 17 steals during the regular year, not running on ball 1 inside to Tino Martinez.
You know, in Tino Martinez's defense, no RBI so far. Hitting behind Bernie Williams, there usually isn't a lot left out there to drive in when he gets done, the way he's been hitting the ball in the postseason.
Hitting the ball and hitting the ball over the wall. 5 postseason home runs. That was close again.
May have hit Williams. I think it's a good thing for Bernie Williams that Fred McGriff put a glove on that ball. Williams diving back in. I think it went under him. He may have prevented the error. Maybe Fred McGriff didn't put a glove on the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think McGriff touched it. I think that ball kind of nestled under the body of Bernie Williams and rolled out the other side. So he's still at first with 2 out. 1-2 to Martinez, now 2-2. Big Cecil waiting on deck. John Smoltz trying to get around a first inning walk. Now it's 3-2 on Martinez. Runner goes, ball 4. Back-to-back walks to the Yankees in the first.
Well, we talked about Cecil Fielder, a lethal low ball hitter. He and Darryl Strawberry love the ball around the knees. They have a problem with balls upstairs. That ball down and in, down over the plate, that's his power zone.
Had a tough time catching up. Strike 1.
Cecil's also a very good mistake breaking ball hitter. If you try to throw a slider and leave it over the fat part of the plate, that's a ball he can hit a long way. John Smoltz with a little extra giddy up on that fastball.
Back-to-back 2-out walks, and now 2-on 2-out for Fielder. Lopez tried to pull it back into the strike zone. 1-1. Inning started harmlessly for John Smoltz. A pop-up, a ground out. Then the walk. He was 0-2 on Martinez, and Tino got away. 2-1 on Fielder.
With Cecil at the plate, the Braves are using a little mini shift. They have Mark Lemke very close to the bag at second base, and all the infielders playing very deep with Cecil Fielder at the plate, who does not run that well. They're going to try to cut off any potential base hit that might get through the infield, because they know they still have time to throw him out at first base.
A 2-ball 1-strike count on Fielder. 2-2.
That was an uh-oh pitch by John Smoltz. That ball is hittable. It was away, but it was down in the zone that Cecil loves it.
Usually when you see that foul ball go straight back like that, that means the hitter was right on the pitch.
So now 2-on 2-out and a 2-2 count on Fielder. Into right. Jermaine Dye back to get it off the end of the bat to end the inning. Couple of walks, 2 men left, and after 1 in game 1, Yankee Stadium, no score.
It was interesting how John Smoltz stayed away from Cecil Fielder. All with fastballs until the last pitch. The slider away off the end of the bat. And Fielder flying out to Jermaine Dye. Smoltz avoiding early trouble.
It's the life of the DH. You fly out to end the inning, you go over, you sit down.
Yeah.
Opposing pitcher goes over and he sits down.
Right.
And they'll battle later. Here's Fred McGriff leading it off in the 2nd inning, no score. Atlanta went in order in the 1st. Andy Pettitte fell behind each of the first 3 hitters, came back to get them all. And he deals with the lefty, McGriff. First left-hander he faces tonight. That's headed out of play. And a 1-ball 1-strike count.
And that last pitch, a reason that Andy Pettitte has had problems with left-handed batters this year. He's over the top, and he's very true to left-handers.
I think it surprises people to know that left-handed hitters are hitting .329 against Andy Pettitte this season. Good pitch over the outside corner, 1-2.
Sweeping breaking ball here from Andy Pettitte. Layward set up just off the corner.
Got it. 1 away here in the Atlanta 2nd.
Another breaking ball away from Andy Pettitte. Fred McGriff saw the one before, called a strike, tries to protect the plate, and can't come up with it. Even though Pettitte has given up a high average to left-handed hitters, only 1 of the home runs that he's given up this year out of the 23 were given up to a left-handed hitter.
Here's Javier Lopez, the NLCS MVP. Like to buy a vowel, please. Javier Lopez hit .542 during the NLCS. During the postseason, .484. for the regular year, as you see, 282 with 23 home runs. Pettit has retired the first 4. 1-1 on Lopez. Fourth postseason start in 1996 for Pettit. And Lopez out in front, strike 2. Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach for the Yankees. One-two. Had him reaching up the middle, base hit. And that's the way the postseason has gone for Javi Lopez, reaching for the pitch, and he chops it up the middle for the first base knock of the night.
Well, up until 2 strikes, Javi Lopez likes to pull the ball. He likes to look for a pitch from the middle in down that he can pull to the left side. But after he gets to 2 strikes, he's a defensive hitter, just tries to get the bat on the ball. Change up there from Andy Pettit. A little dribbler up the middle. Look like a line drive tomorrow.
So 1 on, 1 out as Jermaine Dye stands in. Dye batting in the 6th spot as they have Klesko, their DH, hitting 8th. Broken bat, ground ball, foul. Carried that bat all the way from Atlanta, and on the first swing, gone.
And these guys all get brand new bat orders for the postseason. A lot of them choose to stay with their regular bats, but that looked like a brand new one. Got 1 swing and headed for the woodpile.
Depends on what kind of year that you had. That usually determines whether you use that bat or not. If you had a good year, you're going to stick with your gamer. If you had a bad year, you're going to use your World Series issue.
1 on, 1 out here in the 2nd inning for Atlanta. Inside for ball 1. Jermaine Dye, one of 2 rookies starting for the Atlanta Braves tonight. Andrew Jones, who hits behind Dye, only 19 years old. Dye is just 22. 1 on, 1 out, and a 2-ball, 1-strike count from Pettit.
Andy Pettit wearing out that inside corner to right-handed batters. A pretty good hit and run situation right here. Pettit, like Smoltz, throws a lot of fly balls. He is not a ground ball pitcher. Good time to put Lopez in motion.
Not running on 2-1. Now it's 3-1. Three balls and a strike on Dye. See if the Braves start the runner. Draws a throw and back without a tag. It's one of the weapons in the arsenal for Andy Pettit, that very good pickoff move. He picked off 11 during the regular season.
And 12 last year.
Only 2 this season, however, after the All-Star break. 1 on, 1 out, runner not going, and a full count now on Dye.
The reason for that, Joe, is they stopped running against you. 9 pickoffs before the All-Star break, 2 after. The guys, when they got to first base, they simply didn't run. You may see Lopez take off here, but you've got to make sure Pettit pitches. It's up to the hitter to put the ball in play.
Not going, and that's into left down the line for Strawberry. 2 out, and Lopez back to first. So Darryl Strawberry, broken toe and all, is out in that Yankee outfield. Says he knows his own body. He knew he would be ready to play when the curtain came up on the '96 World Series. You can see that protective guard on his right foot. down around the toe area. And even with the wet track, and it has been raining constantly for about a day and a half, Strawberry is out there and looks good so far. 1 on, 2 out, and the batter is Andrew Jones. Bobby Cox will tell you he didn't think twice to put Andrew Jones in his lineup, despite the fact that he's only 19 years old. Inside again, it's 2-0.
You notice when Pettit, as you look at Bobby Cox, when Pettit misses inside to right-handed batters, you better miss in off the plate. If you let that fastball stay on the inside part of the plate, that's long ball territory.
Full swing by Andrew Jones, 2-1.
Now see, like Smoltz, Pettit behind in the count, so he went away from Jones after missing with 2 fastballs inside.
A 1-out hit here in the inning by Javi Lopez, and now with 2 out, a 2-ball 1-strike count on Andrew Jones. Caught the corner, 2-2.
So what Jim Leyritz did then, he moved inside, then moved outside. And the reason catchers do that is they try to avoid setting up too early. Leyritz was inside, now outside, and Pettit slices the outside corner.
Full count now, and the runner Lopez will take off on this next pitch.
Well, there's a scouting report on Andy Pettit. Good downward movement on his sinking fastball that we haven't seen a lot of today. Point number 2, uses the cutter to righties. That is the important pitch for Andy Pettit.
Check on Lopez as Tino Martinez came in late. Just seeing if Lopez would leave too soon. He will be running on a 3-2 count. Long drive into left field. At the track, at the wall, it is gone. Andrew Jones, his second postseason home run, and it's 2-0 Braves in the second.
His second in a row. The last time up against the Cardinals Thursday night, high fastball from a right-hander. Tonight, high fastball from a left-hander. And did he ever juice this one? What do you think the island of Curacao is doing about right now, guys?
They're dancing.
Jumping around.
They are jumping. 19 years old, started this season in single-A baseball. And he is the youngest ever to hit a World Series home run. Puts Atlanta out in front 2-0 here in game 1 as Ryan Klesko digs in. The left-handed batter, the DH tonight. Has a 1-ball 1-strike count. Up the middle. Pettit knocks it down. Has time. Inning over, but not before major damage. A 1-out hit by Lopez. A 2-out 2-run home run by Andrew Jones. He still looks stunned. 2-0 Braves.
World Series is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By each.
We get ready for the bottom of the second inning here at Yankee Stadium with the Braves out in front by 2.
We talked about when you miss inside and leave the fastball out over the heart of the plate. That is danger zone. A 3-2 fastball. That's that cutter, and he didn't get it inside. And Jones takes care of it.
That wasn't really a cutter. That was more of a scratcher.
Cutter that didn't cut.
Didn't cut enough.
Here's Darryl Strawberry leading it off for the Yankees with O'Neill and Duncan to follow. 1 up and in for ball 1 from John Smoltz. Strawberry hit .417 during the ALCS with 3 home runs. and 5 RBIs. Good fastball from Smoltz. It's 1-1. Bottom fell out of that pitch. Strike 2.
Well, after throwing 2 high, hard fastballs to Darryl Strawberry, he comes back with that split finger that looks like a good low strike where Darryl likes it. And then, as you said, the bottom falls out.
Darryl Strawberry hitting in the 6th spot tonight with O'Neill to follow and then Duncan. So 6, 7, and 8 with Leridge catching and hitting 9th. Atlanta out in front by 2 on the 2-run home run by young Andrew Jones. Into left field for young Andrew Jones. 1 away. So 1 down here in the Yankees' 2nd, and the batter will be Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill has been bothered by a bad left hamstring. Joe Torre telling us it's really nothing that's going to get better until the postseason is over and O'Neill has a chance to rest his legs for about a month. And O'Neill only 3 out of 11 in the American League Championship Series. Up and in, ball 1.
That's even more of a reason why the wet grounds here at Yankee Stadium, or the possibility of wet grounds, were a factor. The Yankees with a couple outfielders banged up, including Paul O'Neill, and that wet turf was really going to be tough on those injuries.
1 out, nobody on, and O'Neill looks at ball 2. Mariano Duncan waiting on deck. Paul O'Neill playing in his 2nd World Series. 3-0.
Paul with the Cincinnati Reds back in 1990, and he saw Cincinnati sweep the Oakland Athletics to win the world title.
During that World Series was only 1 out of 12. Waiting for a 3-0 pitch from John Smoltz. Three balls and a strike with 1 out, nobody on in the 2nd. A 1-out walk, and the 3rd walk issued by Smoltz already. John Smoltz walked only 55 during the regular season. And he issues a 1-out walk to O'Neill here in the 2nd after walking both Williams and Martinez back-to-back in the 1st.
Seems to be having trouble spotting his fastball here early in the ballgame, missing up high a lot early in the count. Missed down low that time to O'Neill to issue the walk.
So 1 on, 1 out for Mariano Duncan. It's with his 3rd different team playing in the World Series. Duncan was with the Reds in 1990, with Paul O'Neill, with the Phillies in 93. And here he is with the Yankees after a great regular season, hitting .340.
And .406 in this ballpark.
Breaks his bat, pops it up. Lemke gives it a look, foul ball, and he's there for the 2nd out of the inning. So this Yankee Stadium crowd, which during the pregame introductions was going crazy, has yet to really have a reason to put their hands together so far tonight.
Well, certainly not on this broken bat from Mariano Duncan. A good fastball low and away. Hits it right off the very end of the bat. Another bat shatters. We've seen a lot of that in the postseason this year.
Yeah, Bob, a pitcher and a catcher, what they try to do, and their primary job, is to keep the ball off the fat part of the bat. And Smoltz did it beautifully there as Duncan hit it right off the end of the bat.
Now with 2 out and the runner at first, O'Neill, here's Jim Leridge. Does have a home run in this postseason. Big swing for strike 1. Now wearing that protective guard over his front elbow after being hit during Game 2 of the division series with Texas. Missed the inside corner, 1-1, as Smoltz is over 90 miles per hour. Braves out in front 2-0, second inning. And a 2-1 count on Leyritz. There are the two catchers, the only two active catchers for Joe Torre on his World Series roster. Joe Girardi on your left and Leyritz at the plate. 3-1.
He asked Joe before the game who would be his third catcher in case of an emergency, and Joe said Luis Sojo, I think.
Crowd jumps back into it with a 3-1 count on Leyritz. Back to the bases on balls for John Smoltz. He walked 2 in the first. He's right back to it. He's walked 2 here in the second.
The Yankee hitter showing great patience against John Smoltz. Joe Torre said that was going to be one of the keys to the entire series, to make the Braves starting pitchers work deep in the count and hope that they made mistakes.
Here's Derek Jeter, popped up his first time during the postseason, hitting .405.
Derek Jeter apt to go the other way. They are giving Jeter the left field line.
2 on, 2 out, and ball 1 to Jeter.
Especially the way Smoltz is working right-handed batters. He's been away from everybody. He does not like to come inside. So the outfield cooperating with John's pitch selection.
This will be the 40th pitch of the night coming up from Smoltz. 2-0.
And I think we're seeing what you alluded to earlier, Tim, an American League umpire behind the plate, not willing to go off of that outside corner and call a strike. Smoltz has made a couple of borderline pitches that he's not getting.
Now Jeter can look for a pitch to rip. Yankees down by 2, second inning. That caught the corner, according to Jim Evans, and the count 2-1.
Well, even though it's a 2-0 count and you get a fastball, if it's not a fastball, you want to hit it. And that certainly didn't seem to be a fastball that Derek Jeter wanted to hit. You might as well take it. Make him throw it over the plate again.
2 on, 2 out. 2-2 now on Jeter.
After 3 fastballs, he came in with a slider to lock Jeter. It's a different look.
Should be able to see the spin on this slider. See the dot on the ball as it comes at you. The ball breaks down and away sharply from a right-handed hitter.
Right into your family room.
Now with 2 on, 2 out, the 2-2. To the second baseman, Lemke. The flip, the out. The inning is over. So we played 2 here at Yankee Stadium. 2-0 Braves. We'll be back right after this from your local Fox station. Tonight, if Smoltz is going to walk 2 an inning.
Well, it's very uncharacteristic, John Smoltz. You see Leo Mazzoni whispering, so nobody knows what's going on in there. But possibly he spotted something in that delivery, a very minor thing that hopefully they can correct, at least hopefully for the Braves they can correct between innings.
Andy Pettitte back to work, facing Blauser. Through a strike, now catches the corner. It's 0-2. It will be Blauser, Grissom, and Lemke for the Braves, who have the lead. There's Grissom. 0 for 1 tonight. 1-2 on Blauser, who appeared in only 83 games during the regular season because of a broken left hand. Has not fared well in the postseason. Down the line, it's fair and trouble. Blauser is thinking double. Strawberry digs it out. Very good play. Broken toe or not, and Blauser is held to a leadoff single.
A very good play by Darryl Strawberry. But in the last game of the National League Championship Series, Jeff Blauser was hit on the left knee. He had to be removed from the game. And the good play by Strawberry combined with the ginger turn that Blauser made at first base. And Blauser is held to a single. Not running well, however.
So the leadoff man is on for Atlanta. The batter is Grissom, and a very good play by Larich to save a wild pitch.
One thing about the Atlanta Braves offense is they're a very adjustable group. They will make adjustments on the fly, as you see Larich with a nice block there of that pitch in the dirt. They will make adjustments as the game progresses, as they see a pitcher fall into a pattern. So far in the first 2 innings plus here, Pettit working exclusively almost on the inside corner, and we're seeing some of the Braves hitters open up and hook that ball.
Into center field. That's going to fall for a hit. Back-to-back singles to start the third for Atlanta.
Like that, Bob. That was a good cut fastball, but Marquise Grissom hitting the ball just above the trademark, and a little dunker into center field. You see where Larich is sitting. They appear to be looking for that ball inside, however.
Well, that's the game of baseball, is constant adjustments. Now it's up to Andy Pettit to either make sure he throws that ball inside off the plate or start working on the outside part of the plate against the Braves.
Now Lemke with 2 on, nobody out in the third. Lemke fouled out to the catcher Larich, his first time up. Showing bunt. And a good bunt. The sacrifice is 3 unassisted. And the runners up to second and third with 1 out in the third.
That's an idea of the confidence that Bobby Cox has in Fred McGriff against the left-hander. We'll see whether Joe Torre elects to pitch to Chipper Jones. This ball looked like it wanted to go foul, and then it just hugs the grass. Pino Martinez made the right play.
That's usually the determining factor for an infielder, is if the ball stays on the grass, it's probably going to remain fair. If it gets on the edge, it's probably going to go foul.
Second and third, 1 out, Chipper Jones. And a good pitch over the inside corner from Pettit. Chipper lined out to right his first time up. Runners on at second and third. Back-to-back singles to start the inning by Blauser and Grissom. Stays high, 1-1.
And the Yankees playing in at third, second, and first, but shortstop Derek Jeter playing at standard depth. They're going to try to cut that run down at home plate if it's hit to any of those 3 playing in. Jeter playing deep to give himself some range to keep the second run from scoring on a base hit.
That's to the right side and out of play for strike 2. A ball and 2 strikes on Chipper Jones.
Now Jeter's moved in at shortstop with 2 strikes.
To the left side and through. In to score is Blauser. Here comes Grissom. The throw by Strawberry, not good. And it's 4-0 Atlanta here in the third.
So Derek Jeter, who was playing back, as Bob said, up to 2 strikes, moved in with 2 strikes. It is doubtful that he gets to this ball to prevent a single. If he were back, probably would have been a base hit, but he could have knocked it down if he were back and prevented Grissom from scoring.
I think definitely from where he was positioned up until 2 strikes, he would have been able to at least get a glove on that ball and keep it in the infield.
So it's a single for 2 RBIs off the bat of Jones. He takes second on the throw, stealing third. The throw by Larich not in time. Chipper Jones steals third, and he's at third with only 1 out.
Andy Pettitte, who has a great move to first base, does not have a good move to second. And what a jump by Chipper Jones. Jim Leyritz with no chance. In there easily.
That's usually a good time to attempt a stolen base, is after you've had some action on the field. A base hit, 2 runners score, a lot of excitement, a lot of things happening, and sometimes the pitcher gets so focused on throwing that next pitch that you can catch him by surprise, and that's exactly what Chipper Jones did.
Add to the chaos.
Now the infield in for the play at the plate. Runner at third is Jones. 1 out here in the third with the Braves already up by 4. Base hit left field, McGriff, and it's 5-0 Atlanta as they have scored 3 times here in the third. Mel Stottlemyre already on the phone to the bullpen as Andy Pettitte is being roughed up, trying to get through 3 innings here in the first game.
Boy, a real good approach by Fred McGriff against the left-handed pitcher. You can see it looked like he made it.
1 out. The batter's Javi Lopez. Takes a ball as it gets away from Leyritz. Ryan Boehringer getting ready for the Yankees out in their bullpen. Not the kind of start the Yankees or Pettitte had in mind here in game 1. It's a 5-0 Atlanta lead, and there's a strike to Javi Lopez, 1-1.
I think so far it's a matter of Andy Pettitte going to the well too often inside. He hit on another inside fastball. This is the second time through the lineup for the Braves, and as Bob said, they're starting to zero in. The ball Chipper Jones hit to left field was a ball down and in.
Down and in, out of the strike zone. 2-1 on Javi Lopez. The only out this inning was on the sacrifice bunt laid down by Mark Lemke. Otherwise, a leadoff single by Blauser, followed by a hit by Grissom, the bunt, the 2-run single by Jones. He was at second, he stole third, and the RBI hit by McGriff. And in a blink, it's 5-0 Atlanta. McGriff at first, 1 out. Big swing by Lopez, 2-2.
You can see Leyritz very active behind the plate, moving out on the outside corner early and then shuffling in underneath the right-hander's hands. But the pitches are just not getting in there with the same kind of zip that they did during the regular season, and these Brave hitters are sitting on that stuff inside.
It's like they're going back inside again. 2-2 pitch. Full count. One on, 1 out. 3 runs home in the inning, and the 3-2 to Lopez instead. A check on McGriff, who may be running. That misses for ball 4, and now add a walk to the day's work for Andy Pettitte, his first of the night.
Well, you cannot dig yourself so deep of a hole here early in the ball game that it puts that much pressure on your offense. Joe Torre on his way out to the mound right now.
The Yankees have 5 come from behind postseason wins in 1996. However, the Yankees have never overcome a 5-run deficit in their postseason history. They're down by 5. It's only the 3rd inning, and Andy Pettitte will lead. He goes 2 1/3 innings in game number 1. The Braves KO Pettitte here in the 3rd, and they're out in front by 5. Look ahead, root for your teammates. Ryan Boehringer into the game with 2 on, 1 out. 3 runs home in the inning and a 5-0 Atlanta lead.
Boehringer did not pitch in the ALCS. He did pick up a victory in the division series. Done a very good job out of the bullpen for Joe Torre after failing a couple times as a starter early in the season.
Now it's 2-0. The Yankees were 1-2 in his 3 starts during the regular season. Jermaine Dye is at the plate. He flied to left just before the 2-out home run hit by Andrew Jones back in the second. 2-0 the count. Decent fastball, strike 1.
Looks like some of the momentum of the offense for the Atlanta Braves has carried over here to Yankee Stadium. They beat the Cardinals 15-0 on Thursday night, and 3 days earlier in Game 5 to stay alive, they won 14-0.
2-1 the count. Now 2-2.
Boehringer with a good live fastball. Not an overpowering fastball, but when you put it in a good location like that, Jermaine Dye forced to check his swing, went too far.
Double play ball would get the Yankees out of any further trouble here in the third. 2 on, 1 out. And the count stays 2-2. Wasn't that a bit of a concern coming into this series? You didn't know how the Yankees would respond. Being laid off for a week. They clinched last Sunday. Here's Atlanta. They have that thrilling come from behind series with St. Louis, down 3-1, outscoring St. Louis 32-1 in the last 3 games of that series. They get the luxury of an off day yesterday to rest up a little, but they come in with a lot more momentum than the Yankees are trying to get it kick started again. This is into left and a long run for Strawberry. Another good play by Darryl Strawberry, and you'd never know he has a broken toe.
Well, I had a high school basketball coach tell me one time, how far is that from your heart? Darryl Strawberry's got a big heart tonight. He does not want to miss the World Series. No signs of a limp. Nice play, Darryl.
Already took an extra base hit away to start this inning off the bat of Blauser. Now he just covers a lot of ground to take one away from Dye, and with 2 on, 2 out, here is Andrew Jones. Ball 1 to Jones, who hit a 2-run home run his first time up. Did not appear at the plate during the division series with the Dodgers. Finished strong in the NLCS against St. Louis, 1-1. Last time up in the second inning, 1 on, 2 out. Look at this swing. Rather full.
A lot of leverage right there.
Now 2 on, 2 out, 1-1 pitch. Strike 2 from Boehringer.
Prior to that home run by Jones, the youngest player to hit a home run in the World Series, Mickey Mantle, when he was 20 back in 1952.
Boehringer trying to keep this just a 3-run inning. Gets under it, down the left field line, and out of play. With 2 strikes, Andrew Jones is not cutting down on his swing at all.
Bobby Cox telling us in Atlanta that Andrew Jones is the best prospect to come through the Atlanta Braves organization since he's been there. That's way back in 1986. He's seen Chipper Jones and a bevy of talented players come through, and Jones is the best.
1-2. Do it again.
Yeah, 2-time minor league player of the year. Really has very little left to prove in the minor leagues. And if he continues to hit like he has in the postseason so far, you got to believe the Braves are going to make a place for him in the outfield next year somewhere.
One and 2 the count. 2-2.
You talk about missing with a fastball. Jim Leyritz sitting inside off the plate, and Boehringer throwing it outside off the plate. Leyritz with a good play to prevent a wild pitch.
Now the 2-2 to Jones. Full count, and the runners will go. Klesko waits on deck, and now Klesko will deal with a right-handed pitcher in his next at bat. Whether it's here in the third or next inning, depending on this 3-2 pitch. Into left field. Well hit. Strawberry back at the wall. Another home run for Andrew Jones. A 2-run homer. A 3-run homer. And all of a sudden, it's 8-0 Atlanta here in the third. What a performance by the 19-year-old Andrew Jones.
And we're only in the third inning. A hanging slider from Boehringer, and Jones knew it. Wow.
Both home runs on a 3-2 delivery. The first one from Pettit, this one from Boehringer. And now Ryan Klesko looks at a strike. 8-0 Atlanta here in the third. Andrew Jones' biggest test now is to see if he can get through that dugout without smiling too much.
He's got a little Mona Lisa smirk on his face as he stands in that batter's box, but that's a full-blown smile he's featuring right now.
Had to dodge that foul ball off the bat of Klesko. That's unbelievable. You know, we talked with Bobby Cox before the game, and I said, you concerned at all starting a 22-year-old in right field, a 19-year-old in left field? He looked at me like I was nuts. Said maybe it was somebody else's rookies, not mine. And you can see why.
Interesting you bring up the Mona Lisa. He has put a couple of Da Vinci swings the last 2 times up. There's that Mona Lisa smile.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and now a full count on Klesko. So game 1 of the 1996 World Series for the Yankees so far has been a nightmare. Pettit 2 1/3 innings. And now Boehringer giving up the inherited runners +1. The inning is finally over. The Braves bat around. They score 6. After 2.5 at Yankee Stadium, this crowd is quiet. It's Atlanta 8, the Yankees nothing. Third inning, and Wade Boggs leads it off, looks at a ball. John Smoltz is handed 8 runs of support. Boggs 0 for 1. Make it 0 for 2. And the leadoff man for the Yankees is gone in. Look like they're having fun nonetheless. 1 out, nobody on, and Bernie Williams up there pumping, strike 1.
In tonight's game, it's been a party of 1 for 5. 5 RBIs by Andrew Jones, who had 39 in 4 classifications, including 5 with the Braves this year. What a show.
Andrew has made only 2 postseason starts before tonight, starting 2 NLCS games against Donovan Osborne of the St. Louis Cardinals. Now here he is starting against Pettit. He's hit a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer off a lefty and a right-hander.
He set a pretty high standard for himself. What's he going to do for an encore?
5 RBIs, 5 of the 8 Atlanta runs. Bernie Williams up on the count, 2-1.
When the Yankees were last in a World Series, Andrew Jones was 4.5 years old on the island of Curacao. He's really intimidated by Yankee Stadium, huh?
Absolutely. 1 out, nobody on, and a 2-2 count on Williams. Tino Martinez waiting on deck. Full count.
Well, the bad news for the Yankees is they're down 8-0 in the third inning. The good news is John Smoltz doesn't seem to have his best stuff tonight. 2 walks in the first inning, 2 walks in the second inning.
It's 3-2 on Bernie Williams. Boggs the first out here in the inning. Struck him out over the outside corner, 2 down. And there is a case where Smoltz does get the corner, and he rings up his first of the night.
See Lopez moving out there, a little tail on that fastball from John Smoltz, starts over the outside corner and just slides right out there on the black.
The bad news for the Yankees is, as John Smoltz struggled early, this 8-0 lead has allowed him to settle into this game and try to find a rhythm. He's now retired 3 in a row, and that last 3-2 pitch to Bernie Williams was by far his best of the night. He's 1-0 on Tino Martinez. Good fastball, 1-1.
8 runs with an 8-run lead. That will get most pitchers right, but particularly a guy as talented as John Smoltz.
1-2. In Smoltz's last start, which was game 5 of the NLCS, he had a 5-0 lead before he ever threw a pitch. And the Braves went on to a 14-0 win in game 5. Two out, nobody on here in the Yankees third. A 1-2 to Martinez. In on the hands, it'll stay 1-2. They're going to need a whole lot of production from somebody. And so far the Yankees have been held hitless. That's rare. More out of the strike zone than in it from Smoltz. 1-2 to Martinez. We'll do it again. So the Yankees wait a week. We thought we'd get this World Series underway last night. Heavy rain pushed back till tonight. And John Smoltz is on. Struggled the first 2 innings, has his first perfect frame, and after 3, the crowd still silent, 8-0 in 11. Series play, the most ever. Gave you a shot of Monument Park. Monument dedicated to Mickey Mantle this year. Imagine the smile it would have brought to his face seeing the Yankees get back to the World Series for the first time since 1981.
And on that monument out there to Mickey Mantle, it says a great teammate, which I think is the highest compliment you can play a ball player.
There's strike 2 on Grissom.
Well, he was a teammate of Bobby Cox's his last year. Bobby Cox was a third baseman for the New York Yankees. Matter of fact, he roomed with Bobby Mercer. Bobby, the great outfielder, now a Yankee broadcaster. Bobby Mercer took his job the next year in 1969. But Bobby Cox, a teammate of Mickey Mantle and a very close friend of Mantle's.
2-2 pitch to Grissom, full count. You know, the resume that Bobby Cox is compiling now is phenomenal.
Scary.
What he's been able to do as manager of the Atlanta Braves and what he did before that as the general manager for Atlanta. Grissom pops it up. Foul territory, and the count will stay full, 3-2. Monument Park has been here at Yankee Stadium since 1932. To stroll through Monument Park. First monument, Miller Huggins, responsible for 6 pennants, 3 world championships. Monuments out there to Gehrig, Ruth, Edward Barron, DiMaggio, Mantle. Grissom flies to left. 2 out here in the 4th inning. One of the plaques out there is for Whitey Ford. When you look at his career and his numbers and his World Series experiences, the tradition that just knocks you over the head when you walk into this ballpark. Ballpark that first saw baseball in 1923. The lease is up in 2002, and there's some question as to what the future of baseball in the Bronx and baseball in Yankee Stadium will be. It is hard to imagine Major League Baseball without Yankee Stadium. 2 out, nobody on here in the 4th inning for Lemke. 0-2 the count. Ballringer missed the outside corner. 1-2. Talk about the parking problems here in the Bronx and around Yankee Stadium. It would be hard pressed to find any ballpark in baseball that had more access from rapid transit system than Yankee Stadium. It's one surefire way to get in and out of this ballpark.
Rapid transit system, and other than rapid transit systems, the Major Deegan. That's the highway that runs by Yankee Stadium.
1-2 on Lemke, and that's down the left field line. Slicing into the corner for a foul ball.
Had an opportunity during the division series. The Yankees were playing the Texas Rangers to take the subway back to Manhattan, the number 4 train.
4 train, yes, sir.
Got there in a hurry.
So Fox puts you on the subway, huh?
Voluntary.
1-2 the count on Lemke. 2-2.
I'll tell you, the Atlanta Braves have taken the A train tonight. Andrew.
And they've taken this crowd right out of the game, which at the beginning of the night seemed like it would be such a factor. The Braves have taken it right to the Yankees. Now Lemke down the line. Didn't get out of the box, and Martinez will take it himself. The Braves go in order for the first time since the first. Bottom of the 4th inning, Yankee Stadium, 8-0 Atlanta. Is Chase Carey, chairman and CEO of the Fox Network, sitting, watching a lot of Atlanta Braves dent home plate. Atlanta 8 runs on 7 hits. Yankees have to get to work. Cecil right through it, strike 1. Fielder, then Strawberry, then O'Neill. If anybody gets on, Mariano Duncan here in the 4th inning for Joe Torre. Cecil flied to right off the end of the bat his first time, and now in the hole 0-2.
Well, Smoltz has a couple different ways he can go now. We talked about up the ladder in the pregame show. A good high fastball here, or that split finger down in the dirt. Try to get Cecil to chase it.
Another thing we've seen from Smoltz in this postseason is him drop down and pitch sidearm over the top, right down the middle. See you later. And the 3rd strikeout in a row for John Smoltz. That'll bring in Darryl Strawberry, talking about his unselfish play and the unselfish play of his teammates.
Nobody over here really wants to be a hero. We don't need heroes. We just do it together, and whoever wins the game that night wins it for us. Nobody tries to stand out and be a hero over here. Everybody pulls for each other.
You know, a lot of times you hear athletes say that. It's a bunch of bull. But when you look at this Yankee team, when Strawberry has been on the bench, or Fielder has been on the bench, or Wade Boggs has taken a backseat to Charlie Hayes, you have not heard a lot of complaining. That's out of play off the bat of Strawberry for strike 2.
Well, this ball club, this Yankee club, so unlike the great Yankee teams 1977, 78, the 81 team. The Yankees beat the Dodgers in 77, 78. They lost to the Dodgers in 1981. Totally different makeup of that club.
0-2 on Strawberry. Just missed the inside corner as Smoltz is looking for his 4th strikeout in a row. There's Charlie Hayes, a late addition to this team. Guy who found himself in the Yankee lineup with Wade Boggs on the bench. 2-2 on Strawberry. Tim Raines, another example. Someone who's been on the bench for the better part of the year. Been bothered by a bad hamstring. 2-2 to the right side for McGriff. The race. Got it. 2 out. McGriff a bit relieved now. He laid back, and Strawberry with his bad toe and all, nearly beat McGriff to the base, but 2 out.
Meanwhile, the Yankees have not hit a ball hard all night. The only base runners have been walks. 2 in the first, 2 in the second. John Smoltz pitching a no-hitter.
Bottom of the 4th inning, 2 out, nobody on. Here's O'Neill. There's ball 1. David Cone will pitch game 3, which will be the first game of this series to take place in Atlanta. We'll all head back to Atlanta after game 2 tomorrow night, which will match Greg Maddux for Atlanta against Jimmy Key for the Yankees. Because of that rainout last night, Bobby Cox able to bring back Maddux in game 2.
Prior to that, Denny Nagel, the left-hander, was scheduled to start tonight's game if tonight's game would have been the number 2 game, but now Nagel has been moved back to Wednesday night.
2 out, nobody on. 3-0 pitch. And O'Neill with his club down by 8. Tanking all the way. There's Jimmy Key. Start tomorrow night. That'll get out of play for a full count.
That's an idea, Joe, of how hard John Smoltz throws. When an accomplished hitter like Paul O'Neill, who batted over 300 this year, is looking for a fastball, gets a fastball, and still fouls it off the other way. It's an indication of how tough John Smoltz is. Even when you get a predictable fastball, you're late on it.
Into center field, carrying to Grissom, and Smoltz has retired 7 in a row. We are through 4 at Yankee Stadium, game 1, 8-0 Atlanta. We are through 4 innings here in game 1 of the 1996 World Series, and it's all Atlanta so far. Chipper Jones will lead it off. He knocked home 2 back in that 6-run 3rd inning. Later scored a run, and he's up there pumping, batting left-handed for the first time tonight. Strike 1.
Well, the big job for Boehringer right now is to just try to put some zeros on the board. Trailing 8-0, realistically your chances aren't that great, but you got to try to save as much of that bullpen as you can.
1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, Joe Torre doesn't have to go through 4 or 5 pitchers in the first ball game of a series when he knows how valuable that bullpen is going to be.
A bullpen which so far in the postseason has 5 of the 7 wins by the Yankees. Bullpen is 5-1. The starters 2-1 and 3 decisions. 2-2 on Chipper Jones. That bullpen ERA 1.56. Jeff Nelson a big part of that.
Well, there's no secret that Joe Torre likes to break the game down. 6-2-1. Get 6 innings out of your starter with a lead. Go to Mariano Rivera for 2. John Wetland to finish it out for 1. Obviously those plans are going to change somewhat this evening.
You can forget those plans right now. Yankees starter Andy Pettitte already gone. 3-2 pitch into left. Well hit. Sending Strawberry back. 1 out. And Chipper Jones used all of left field for the first out here in the 5th.
Nice play by Darryl Strawberry, drifting back. And with that broken right big toe, he has played a fine defensive left field so far in this game.
Good thing he's got a long wingspan.
Yeah.
Like he misjudged it just a little bit at the end, but able to recover.
So Chipper now 1 for 3, and with 1 out, nobody on, the batter's McGriff. Griff stuck the bat out and drove a hit to left his last time up. Off the left-hander Pettitte. Now gets to face the right-hander Boehringer. 1-1.
Last 3+ games, including this game, the Atlanta Braves have just been dominating, outscoring their opponents 40-1.
40 runs, 53 hits, hitting over 400.
Man.
McGriff couldn't hold up in the count 1-2. You think of this Atlanta offense, 17 extra base hits, 1 run, and that 1 run scored on a wild pitch.
Yeah.
That's over the last 4 games during this postseason. 2-2 on McGriff. Combine that with an Atlanta ERA in the 10 previous games of 1.62. There's no secret as to why they're here. That's down the line, hooking off the pole for a home run. The 3rd home run of the night for Atlanta, first for McGriff, and it's 9-0 Braves in the 5th. And that home run off the bat of McGriff carried its own sound effect as it clangs off the fair pole down the right field line, and the fans throw it back.
What a P by McGriff. I thought we had that pole mic.
Don't need it. Any Mike will pick that up. 1 out, nobody on, 1 run in, and a strike to Javi Lopez.
You know, we touched earlier briefly about the deepness in the gaps in center field here at Yankee Stadium, but the short porches down both lines can be taken advantage of by pull hitters.
1 ball, 1 strike on Lopez. Coming up in the 9th inning, Tim, Bob, and I will award today's Chevrolet Player of the Game.
We might go ahead and do that right now.
1 ball, 1 strike. That's back and headed out of play for strike 2. However, as all votes in right now are for Andrew Jones, don't forget about Smoltz.
Yeah, right.
Who's gone 4 hitless. There's that man. Hitting 7th in the Atlanta lineup tonight.
That's what they used to say about Stan Musial across town in Ebbets Field. Musial with a 400 lifetime average there. And they kept saying, there's that man again.
Bullringer blows Lopez away. 2 out here in the 5th inning. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow night the defending world champion Atlanta Braves will battle baseball's most storied franchise, the New York Yankees. It's Game 2 of the 1996 World Series tomorrow night. Tune in to Fox at 7 o'clock Eastern to get all the action. Jermaine Dye, and that's strike 1. What does our schedule of games look like for the World Series? Well, Game 1 tonight, obviously. Game 2 is tomorrow night, Monday night at 7 o'clock. Then Game 3, 4, and 5 the next 3 days in Atlanta. There is no travel day at the start of this series because of the rain out tonight. Then the off day, and then back to New York for Game 6 and 7 next weekend. Two balls and a strike on Jermaine Dye, who is 0 for 2. 9-0 Atlanta. Top of the 5th inning. Into right center field, well hit. Near the track, Williams pulls it in, and we are through 4 1/2. Halfway through it, Yankees in a big hole. Come to bat in the bottom of the 5th inning. Smoltz and the Braves out in front by 9. Halfway through it here at Yankee Stadium. Game number 1 of the 1996 World Series. 9-0. Tim McCarver, Bob Brentley, Joe Buck. The Atlanta Braves have come rolling right into this series after that 7-game long series with St. Louis. Leading it off is Mariano Duncan. He takes ball 1.
Looks like a carryover from Thursday night when they beat the Cardinals 15-0. They have not let up.
Duncan, then Leyritz. The first 2 up here in the 5th inning, then back to the top of the order. Only base runners against Smoltz have been the 4 walks. big swing by Duncan. 2-1.
Not only were the Braves weary after that game on Thursday night, as you look at Jim Leyritz on deck, then they get to New York the next day, and the press had it took 3 hours to get from Newark to the ballpark here at Yankee Stadium.
That's foul.
Bobby Cox telling us today that it took 4 hours to get from the Newark airport here to Yankee Stadium. Then they worked out for about an hour and a half, and it took them 2 hours to get back to the hotel because of all the rain on Friday night.
Showing no signs of weariness so far. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That's into right field off the end of the bat for Jermaine Dye. That's Jermaine's first chance to get acquainted with the fans out in right field. 1 out. Here in the bottom of the 5th inning, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent. 1 out, nothing shaken for the Yankees. 5th inning. Here's Leyritz.
Well, it's been a topic of conversation before concerning rest. Is it more to your advantage to have the time off to enable some injuries to heal, enable some guys to get extra batting practice, extra rest? Or is it more to your advantage to come right out of one series and into another?
1-1 on Leyritz.
I do believe yesterday was an important day for Atlanta to get off, however.
For no other reason, it allowed Bobby Cox to get his rotation in line.
Right.
There's a strike, and it's 1-2. But you talk to Bobby Cox, and he says, I don't care. If I had it the other way, if I had Nagel going in game 2, you're going to see them all anyway. Who cares? It's the way he approaches it. I guess it's that easy when you have this kind of pitching. 1-2 on Leyritz. Got him. 2 out, and that's 4 strikeouts for Smoltz.
We showed you a couple innings ago that John Smoltz had actually thrown more balls than strikes, but last couple innings he seems to have it zeroed in.
Here's Derek Jeter, 22 years old. He plays like he's 29 years old. He's one of those guys that, as you watch him play, it looks like he's been around longer than he really has. Last season had only 48 at bats. So eligible as a rookie this season, and he will win the American League's Rookie of the Year award running away. Hitting over 400 this postseason. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Last Yankees shortstop to win the Rookie of the Year award, Tom Trish, back in 1962.
2 out, nobody on. 1-1 pitch.
It's hard to argue with a .314 batting average, 10 homers, 78 RBIs, and also playing the second most demanding position on the field and playing it very well.
2 balls and a strike. I would assume the most demanding would be the position that you two played.
Without a doubt.
I think that's across the board. That's accepted.
And as I said earlier, doing it in a city and in a ballpark where they haven't always been receptive to young players.
2-2. Full count. Rookie leader in the American League. First in runs batted in, second in average, third in home runs, but the total package pushes him out in front of the rest of the pack. 3-2. A 2-out walk. That's been the only problem for Smoltz so far. He has walked 5.
I'll tell you what, when John Smoltz throws a 3-2 slider to Derek Jeter with an 8-run lead in the 5th inning, that means he's thinking about a no-hitter. That's my read on that last pitch. Be interesting to hear John's answer to that, and I'm sure he'll be answering that question. You know, when did you start thinking about a no-hitter? When you throw a 3-2 slider with an 8-run lead in the 5th inning with 2 out and nobody on, you're thinking about it.
5 walks up until tonight in 3 prior starts, now 5 tonight. So control has been a problem. Ball 1 now on Boggs, who is 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts.
I said an 8-run lead for getting Fred McGriff's home run, a 9-run lead.
It's even more of a reason to throw a fastball.
Yeah, right.
One more reason.
Right.
1 ball, 1 strike on Boggs.
That is the oddest defense I have ever seen on the left side of the infield. Shortstop and third base.
Boggs shoots one to deep center. Grissom over his head. First Yankee hit. Here comes Jeter with a first Yankee run. It's 9-1.
Boggs gets a fastball up and out over the plate. Doesn't really drive the ball a lot anymore, but he gets a hold of this ball. We mentioned Grissom plays a shallow center field, and that's a huge gap in left center field. Runs it down at the wall, but the Yankees get on the board.
That ball was crushed. The first hit of the night for the Yankees produces their first run. Now Bernie shoots one to center. Grissom right there. And the 5th inning will come to a close, but not before the Yankees get on the board. There will be no shutout in game 1. It's 9-1 Atlanta through 5. Well into the 6th inning. 9-1. Atlanta out in front. And the ground ball off the bat of Andrew Jones is foul for strike 1. Smoltz gives up his first hit, which produces the first run. But I think, Tim, he was more upset with the walk to Derek Jeter.
Yeah, you could see him say stupid. That 3-2 slider that he threw to Jeter. He wasn't upset about the Boggs hit, but he did say stupid. That was just stupid.
1-1 the count. Broken bat. Boggs safe. They would have had him if Tino Martinez was able to dig it out, and if they got Andrew Jones on a ball hit to third with the bat ending up by Wade Boggs, that would have been one of the best plays you'll ever see.
Well, the bat actually hit Wade Boggs, I believe. I think it hit him in the left leg. Yeah, it hit him.
I don't believe I've ever seen that happen before. A lot of times the guy will dodge it, but I've never seen anybody get hit. Good concentration by Boggs to stay with it. It's ruled a base hit by Andrew Jones.
So Jones is 3 out of 3. You can see the first base umpire, Terry Tate, get ready to punch him out, but when Tino Martinez couldn't dig it out, it's ruled a hit. So Andrew Jones has a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and a leadoff hit here in the 6th inning.
Well, I bet Andrew right there, most of the time, any hitter in baseball will trade a hit for a bat. But that's probably the same bat that he had a 2-run homer and a 3-run homer. So I don't think Andrew would trade a hit for a bat in that situation. 8-run ball game.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he could hit with a chair leg.
Well, he's going to have to if he hits with that bat again. That's the only thing it could be now. Oh, there's not a bat anymore. Wade Boggs actually hit by the bat, and the short hop, and Jones is safe.
1-2 now on Klesko. Andrew Jones aboard with nobody out here in the 6th inning. A 9-1 Atlanta lead, and there's the double play ball booted by Duncan. Everybody is safe. Taylor made, and Duncan could not come up with it to his right. It's ruled an error, and it's the 2nd postseason error for Mariano Duncan.
Well, Duncan is in there more for his offense than his defense. A very routine play, just hits off the heel of the glove and throws it away at the end of the play, but fortunately it doesn't get far enough away for anybody to advance.
Looked like he tried to shovel it off before he had control. Looking up right there, the ball hit the heel of the glove. Now the toss too late.
So a single and an error, and now Blauser, who is 1 out of 2, looks at a ball. Jeff got that 6-run third inning, which was highlighted by the 2-out 3-run home run by Andruw Jones, started with a base hit. 2-0. Balls and a strike on Blauser. He's playing in his 3rd World Series. He missed last season's World Series with a deep thigh bruise. Braves used Giovanola a lot in his place at the end of last season. So he's been banged up the last couple of years. 3-1 now on Blauser.
The Atlanta Braves have been in the World Series in 4 of the last 5 years. Prior to 1991, they had been in only 4 World Series up to 1990. 1957 and 58 with Milwaukee, and before that with Boston when they were the Boston Braves.
Blauser gets into one to left field. Strawberry back at the wall. 1 out. Jones tags and advances to third with good base running, and it's 1st and 3rd, 1 out.
Good base running, but Andruw Jones almost missed the bag in tagging up. He was feeling for the bag, and even though he made that mistake, it was great base running by a young player who's done everything tonight.
Poor base running on the part of Ryan Klesko at first base. As a runner at first, you do what the runner ahead of you does.
You could see Jones going back, trying to feel for the bag, and he came off early, then he touched it and still made it easily. But you're right about Ryan Klesko. He's got to be at second base.
Now they're going to appeal. You could see on the replay that he did touch second base. You can understand why the Yankees appealed, however, as Andruw did not find it with his first 2 attempts. Don Zimmer on the left with Joe Torre on your right. What a year and what a ride those two have had this season. Out of play for strike 1.
As the trail runner on that play, you do whatever the runner ahead of you does. If he tags, you tag. And because the play is in front of you, if you start to second base and see the throw going to second base, you can stop and retreat to first base.
It's 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Tough to double Marquise Grissom. There's the base hit to left field for Grissom. In to score is Jones. And it's 10-1 Atlanta here in the 6th. So Boehringer now has allowed 3 runs. 7 runs charged to the starter Pettit.
The second baseman, Mark Lemke.
So 2 hits, an error, 1 run in the inning. Back to a 9-run lead as David Weathers, the right-hander, gets ready for the Yankees in their bullpen. 2 on, 1 out for Lemke. To the right side and through. Here comes Klesko. The throw by O'Neill is late. Over to third is Grissom, and it's 11-1 Atlanta. So after scoring 14 runs in Game 5 of the NLCS, they took a night off in Game 6. They had Maddox pitching. They scored only 3. 15 runs in the clincher in Game 7. 11 runs on 11 hits here tonight.
Mark Lemke entered tonight's game with a .486 postseason batting average with runners in scoring position, and he delivers again.
Andruw Jones has 3 hits. Lemke has his first hit. Grissom a couple of hits. Home run by McGriff. He's driven in a couple. It's all Atlanta in Game 1. 11-1 Atlanta here in the top of the 6th inning. With its dynamic stars and issues torn from today's headlines, New York Undercover brings you the stories that are happening right here, right now. New York Undercover, an all-new episode Thursday, October 31st on Nonstop Fox. There's Michael DeLorenzo, one of the hottest young stars of New York Undercover. He's got a Yankees do-rag working here in game one.
He's a little undercover right now.
Undercover of a do-rag. Here's David Weathers wearing the traditional baseball cap. A record of 2-0 in the 1996 postseason.
That's a do cap.
It's a do cap. David Weathers really impressed Joe Torre in the divisional playoff with Texas. The work he did in a couple of tight spots, and here he is. A little more relaxed atmosphere. First and third, one out, facing Chipper Jones. A chance to maybe get some of the nerves out, the butterflies out. It's a 10-run game. And he gets a look at Chipper Jones, who he knows from his days with the Marlins. Talking about David Weathers. Saved by Leyritz, 1-1.
Yeah, Weathers is one pitcher on this Yankee staff, along with David Cone, John Wetland to some extent back in his old days with the Dodgers. Pitchers who the Braves are familiar with because of their recent history in the National League.
First and third, one out. Now Weathers falls behind 2-1. Bullringer went 3 innings, allowing 4 runs on 5 hits, still responsible for the 2 on. He allowed 2 home runs along the way. Big swing by Chipper Jones, 2-2. Grissom is on at third. He has an RBI hit in this inning, as does Lemke. He's at first. 2 runs are home, and it's a 10-run Atlanta lead. Full count. McGriff on deck. He's driven home 2 with a single and a solo home run. Into left field for Strawberry. Nice running catch. Here's Grissom. The throw cut off. And it's 12-1 Atlanta as Jones drives in his 3rd of the night. So the Braves have their biggest lead of the evening as Chipper Jones with sac fly to left.
RBI production goes up for your number 3 hitter when you have speed in the 1 and/or 2 spots. Marquise Grissom scoring on a ball that normally they'd have a play on at the plate.
Good idea of just how quick Grissom is.
Yeah.
Now it's a runner at first, 2 out for McGriff. Fred played the foul pole his last time up.
It's a nice sound, says Fred.
McGriff had hit 3 home runs coming into this World Series during the postseason. Number 4 came with 1 out in the 5th inning. Off the end of the bat to center for Bernie Williams. And the top of the 6th inning comes to a close, but not before the Braves had 3. Bottom of the 6th inning, Braves by 11. You look marvelous.
Does look marvelous.
Marvelous.
No wonder he's downcast. The Yankees are losing. A huge Yankee fan.
It's a Fox Sports graphic for Billy Crystal. I hate it when that happens. It's Bob Watson. He can't like what's happening here tonight. Bottom of the 6th inning, a 12-1 game. The Yankees' only RBI off the bat of Wade Boggs, which, by the way, is his first postseason RBI this year. Tino Martinez will lead it off with Cecil Fielder to follow, and then Darryl Strawberry against John Smoltz. It gets no easier tomorrow night for New York with Maddox on the mound. But Tim, when you talk to Joe Torre, he has really been impressed with Jimmy Key, who will be on the mound tomorrow night for New York.
Jimmy Key, much the same pitcher as Tommy Glavine of the Atlanta Braves. And Joe Torre hoping that Jimmy Key is as effective as Tommy Glavine has been for the Atlanta Braves.
Tino Martinez leading it off, and that's strike 2.
Jimmy Key maybe a little better breaking ball than Tom Glavine. Glavine relies more on the sinker, the slider, and a good changeup. Jimmy Key also throws an overhand curve and a big sweeping slider, but very similar in their approach.
Both with their fastballs keep it away from right-handers. Away, away, away.
1-2. Off the end of the bat into center for a leadoff base hit for Martinez. And if nothing else, you have to start looking at individual goals. And individually speaking, Tino Martinez, who hit only 182 during the LCS and has not driven in a run, needs to get going.
That's good hitting right there. That fork ball low and away. Goff to left center.
Here's Cecil. Fielder 0 for 2. He's flying to right and struck out. The numbers for the postseason. During the regular season, I mean, you don't talk about Cecil Fielder as having a great 1996, but he did. Shoots one into deep right center. Grissom back to get it as it falls short. Didn't get all of it, and Fielder is 0 for 3 during the regular season. Just to finish the point, Fielder hit 39 home runs and drove in 117.
Not too shabby, huh?
Not at all. 1 on, 1 out. As it starts to rain here at Yankee Stadium, Darryl Strawberry digs in. Little drizzle here on Sunday night. But nothing like we had here yesterday.
Coastal flooding yesterday, right?
This one I understand. Coastal flooding. There's a strike over the outside corner to Strawberry. Heavy winds. Heavy rain. That thing arrived on time. 1 on, 1 out. Strawberry, the double play ball. They had the entire infield on the right side of the infield, and Strawberry, I'm telling you, for a guy with a broken toe, is running just fine. Quite a shift the Braves infield puts on, and Strawberry hits right into it.
We'll see him getting down the line. Stretching out to beat that relay throw on the very unusual 4-5-3 attempted double play. Because of the shift, Chipper Jones, the third baseman, covered second base.
That's another first. I've never seen a third baseman covering second on a double play attempt.
One luxury the Braves have, however, is that Jones came up as a shortstop.
Yeah.
So he's not afraid to cross the bag and attempt a double play. Now the rain picks up a little bit. 100th pitch of the night coming for Smoltz, and it's low. 2-0 on O'Neill. A leadoff hit by Martinez. Fielder fly to rather deep right center. Strawberry bounces into the force out. Now O'Neill is 0 for 1 with a walk. (3-0) from Smoltz.
You know, we speculated back in Game 5 of the NLCS when John Smoltz jumped out to a big lead that perhaps Bobby Cox would take him out of the game and save a few pitches out of that arm, but he didn't do it then, and I seriously doubt if he's going to do it now.
There's a strike on pitch number 102 tonight. 3-1. Paul O'Neill trying to figure out John Smoltz. Full count.
Talking about last Monday when Atlanta beat the Cardinals 14-0. That was in Game 5 to keep the Braves' hopes alive. And the reason that you would think he would do it then was to come back and pitch in relief in Game 7.
With Strawberry running, O'Neill pops it up. Fighting the raindrops. Chipper puts it away. It's a 12-1 game through 6. Back after this from your local Fox station. It's raining on Raines in left field as he takes over for Dale Strawberry. We are into the 7th inning, a 12-1 Atlanta lead. John Smoltz shaking hands as he heads back to the Atlanta clubhouse. He'll give way to the Atlanta bullpen. Through 6 innings, he allowed 1 run on 2 hits. David Weathers back to work, and here's Javi Lopez, ball 1. McMichael will be next in for the Braves.
Well, we talked about Smoltz staying in Game 5 of the NLCS, but at that point, the only reason to save him would be to pitch relief in Game 7. This is a different situation. He's going to have to come back on 3 days rest.
Right.
So Bobby Cox trying to save as much wear and tear on that arm.
David Weathers is 2 balls and a strike behind on the count to Javi Lopez. Andy Pettitte is back out in the Yankee dugout, lasting only 2 1/3 innings. Lopez into center for Bernie Williams. 1 out. Here is our Aflac trivia question. Our good friends at Aflac, which pitcher started Game 1 of the World Series the most times? I'm going to throw out Whitey Ford.
It could have, I was going to say it could be the guy that we were talking about earlier. His last start of a World Series game, 1964. I believe his first start was 1950 or 51. 22 World Series appearances for the great Yankee left-hander.
This is Jermaine Dye. He bounces one up the middle for his first hit of the night. 1 on 1 out as Dye is now 1 out of 4. The Braves have a base runner here in the 7th inning. First man to reach against David Weathers. Here's Andrew Jones. He's hit a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, a single. He's scored 3 runs. He's driven in 5. The only thing that hasn't gone right for Andrew Jones tonight is that it's raining. And he had no control over that. Otherwise, a perfect evening in his first World Series game. Only 2 players have hit 3 home runs in a game. And they both wore Yankee uniforms. Reggie did it in '77. 3 pitches. 2-0 now from David Weathers. Rain picks up a little here at Yankee Stadium. 1 on 1 out. And the double play ball. Jeter flips out over to first. Can't get it. Bad throw. And it's a 6-4 force out. No error, but Andrew Jones is on with 2 out to keep the 7th inning alive for Atlanta.
Bobby Cox talks about Andrew Jones as being a 5-tool player, which means he hits for average, hits for power, can throw and run, as he shows right there.
He had that beat anyway. Even a good throw doesn't get him. Looked like a routine double play ball.
Now Klesko grounds to Jeter. He'll step for the final out. No runs, a hit, a man left. The Braves have left only 2 tonight. They've scored 12. They lead by 11. Well, there's some power in the middle of a lineup. Pretty good 1-2 punch. DiMaggio and Kissinger.
Yeah, how many hits does Kissinger have in the big leagues?
He's in the big leagues. I don't know how many hits he's got. They watch as Greg McMichael takes over. McMichael on for Smoltz, who went 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 2 hits. Now it's McMichael, first out of the Atlanta bullpen in the '96 World Series. Some wet weather gear here at Yankee Stadium.
Multi-purpose mitt right there. You carry a hot dog in it, catch a baseball in it, put it on top of your head to keep your hair dry.
Here's Duncan leading it off with Larritz and Jeter to follow. Against McMichael, it's one changeup after another. Strike one on Duncan.
I'm sure Bobby Cox is getting McMichael in there to try to boost his confidence. He's been less than effective in the postseason. Real good opportunity following the hardest thrower on the Braves staff.
Tough play off the bat of Duncan. Very good play by Blauser, 1 out. And Duncan 0 for 3.
Sometimes you can make a pitcher look more effective depending on who he follows in the game. John Smoltz was throwing very hard, as you see Duncan's ground ball up the middle. McMichael, a changeup pitcher following the hardest thrower on the staff, I would think should be very effective at this point in the ball game.
His one loss against the Cardinals put the Cardinals up 3-1 against the Braves. That was in Game 4 when he entered the game, and in 1+ innings, 1 1/3 innings, gave up 4 runs.
That was 1 week ago tonight. He came on to allow a pinch hit 2-run triple to Dimitri Young. Infield hit by Clayton, and then next inning a game-winning home run by Brian Jordan. 1 ball, 1 strike. So one thing that Bobby Cox was still kicking the dirt about after that series, that darn Game 4. But the Braves came away with a 4-3 win in that series over St. Louis to get here. Leo Mazzoni on the left of Bobby Cox. To our right in his 6th year as pitching coach with the Braves. Little fly ball into center for a 1-out hit off the bat of Leyritz. On for the 2nd time tonight. Well, we gave you our Aflac trivia question. Which pitcher started Game 1 of the World Series the most times in history? Our Aflac trivia answer, Whitey Ford, 8 times. 55 through 58, 61 through 64. Ford, a New Yorker, fearless. Here's Jeter, 1 on, 1 out. Jeter 0 for 2 with a walk, and the only run scored tonight for the Yankees.
Most teams that open on the road in the World Series would be satisfied being 1-1. I think Braves win tonight. I think they're going to be dissatisfied if they don't go back to Atlanta 2-0 with Greg Maddux going tomorrow night.
Meanwhile, there's no secret as to why Joe Torre, instead of going with Pettit and then Cone, goes with Pettit and then Key.
Right.
Try to get at least a win here at Yankee Stadium. Hope for a win in Atlanta and get this series back to New York.
And with Pettit going a little over 2 innings tonight, it wouldn't be unreasonable for Joe Torre to think about bringing Pettit back on Wednesday night instead of starting Kenny Rogers, who is slated to start at least before the game tonight.
Over the inside corner, and the strikeout for McMichael, and Jeter didn't like it.
Well, that's good pitching by McMichael. You get a hitter leaning. Watch Jeter leaning out over the plate, fastball in, locks him.
All that putting the hitter in the rocking chair. You get him leaning out over the outside part, you throw it inside. You get him opening up, looking inside, you throw it outside. Batters continually rocking back and forth.
The rookie Jeter 0 for 3 tonight. Here's Boggs. And there's strike 1 from McMichael.
You hear it all the time in baseball. Denny Nagel up and throwing, just throwing between starts, one would think. And keeping the ball down is the most effective way to pitch.
Up the middle, base hit off the bat of Boggs. Leyritz will move to third, and it's 1st and 3rd, 2 out.
Second hit in a row for Wade Boggs, but in my opinion, Bob, the best way to get hitters out on a consistent basis is to work both lanes of the plate, the outside part and the inside part. Not saying that keeping the ball down is not important. You get more hitters out working in and out than you do down.
Now runners at the corners, 2 out for Bernie Williams. Bernie hitless tonight after being named the ALCS MVP. The line drive. He stays hitless. The Yankees have stranded 8. We've played 7. Atlanta out in front by 11. We play 7 here at Yankee Stadium. Game 1 of the 1996 World Series. Our game summary. Andrew Jones, 2 home runs in his first 2 at bats. Just 19 years old. Fred McGriff hit a solo home run down the line off the foul pole. Andy Pettitte, the starter for New York, lasted less than 3 innings, allowing 7 runs. And John Smoltz had a no-hitter going into the 5th inning. Boggs had an RBI double to plate the first run. He ends up going 6, allowing a run on 2 hits. Andy Fox takes over at second base for Mariano Duncan, and on the mound, tall, sidewinding right-hander, just flat out nasty. It's Jeff Nelson.
There's a lot of elbows and kneecaps, a lot of motion. Throws a hard sinker, a hard slider, occasional changeup.
Number 17, Luis Polonia.
They're going to start with a pinch hitter here for Blauser after Weathers goes an inning and 2/3, no runs on a hit. Luis Polonia, who played here at Yankee Stadium in '89 and '90 and in '94 and '95. Leading it off, taking a ball.
As a matter of fact, there were only 2 Atlanta Braves that had played in Yankee Stadium before tonight's game, and that was Louis Polonia and Fred McGriff.
So Polonia, a little tune-up for later in the series. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think they like it here, leading 12-1.
You see that drop down low 3/4, almost sidearm delivery from Jeff Nelson.
Strike 2 on Polonia. Polonia's had very limited work off the bench for Atlanta. That missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Oh, somebody had a blowout.
Or somebody's just bored.
Knit 1, pearl 2.
Polonia had only 3 at-bats in the NLCS, and he comes up empty for out number 1 here in the 8th inning. Well, this is game 1, and it looks like it belongs to Atlanta. Tomorrow night, the defending. 1 out. Here's Grissom, who is 2 out of 4. How about that breaking ball? Grissom is bailing, and it's over the heart of the plate for strike 1. That's how tough Nelson can be against right-handed hitters. Little bail and wail into center field, into the glove of Williams. 2 out.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the breaking ball, it's how the breaking ball is delivered. When a guy that tall drops down that much and throws a ball over the fat part of the plate, it looks like it's outside because of where you're going.
A World Series fact. Worst game 1 defeat. Chicago over LA in '59, 11-0.
Hope for Yankee fans if history repeats itself, because the Dodgers came back to win 4 in a row over the White Sox after that 11-0 loss.
2 out, nobody on. Lemke up the middle. Tough play. Andy Fox can't get it. A 2-out hit for Lemke, and he's 2 out of 4. The biggest margin of victory in a series is 14. 1936, game number 2. The Yankees won at the Giants 18-4. The Yankees went on to win the series 4-2. By the way, the 18 runs is still a record. And we're not close here tonight. Chipper Jones at the plate, 1 on, 2 out. First ever World Series game for Joe Torre. It had been 4,272 games as a player and manager before tonight, before getting to the World Series. And World Series game number 1 did not go well. Chipper Jones has driven in 3 tonight. 1 on, 2 out. And a 2-1 count. It's Don Zimmer. Joe Torre wanted as his bench coach. Asked him, brought him out of retirement. Had left the Colorado Rockies and Don Zimmer a couple of years ago. He and Joe Torre have had a great ride through 1996. Game 1 of the World Series, however, different story. A couple of changes as we get into the bottom of the 8th inning with the Braves out in front by 11. Rafael Belliard comes in to play short after Blauser was lifted for a pinch hitter in the top of this inning. And the new pitcher, he's one of the starters for Atlanta. Bobby Cox getting him an inning of work here tonight. It's Denny Nagel.
Yeah, instead of tuning up in the bullpen, is tuning up in the ball game.
And you are afforded that luxury in a 12-1 game. If the inning gets long, just bring in someone else. Here's Tino. Martinez looks at ball 1 outside.
And this is a good luxury to have because it gives the starting pitcher like Denny Nagel an opportunity to get out onto the game mound and throw in actual game situations rather than just throw in the bullpen to the coaches or one of the bullpen catchers.
Especially in a World Series game, if there's any nervousness involved, which I doubt that there is, as you see Brad Klontz warming, and you take care of that nervousness tonight and not Wednesday.
Denny Nagel has been very impressive in the postseason. He made 1 relief appearance in the series against St. Louis, then made a start. Was the starter in game 4 and went 6 2/3 innings. Allowed 2 runs and only 2 hits. To the right side, right at Lemke. Martinez the first out here in the 8th inning. Well, we've already shown you what the last 4 games have been like for the Braves offensively. Combine that output with what they're doing from the mound, an ERA of around a half run. Opponents average well under 200 and 28 walks to 7 strikeouts, which is amazing considering Smoltz had 5 of those walks, 5 of those 7 walks here tonight.
Yeah.
Here is Cecil Fielder 0 for 3 with a strikeout in the middle between 2 fly ball outs. Into left center field for Grissom, back to get it. 2 out. And the first 2 are gone here in the 8th inning for New York. Well, next week, Fox NFL Sunday talks with former co-host Jimmy Johnson as he prepares for the biggest game he has had as coach of the Dolphins. Then it's exciting doubleheader action highlighted by the most talked about. Don't forget, tomorrow night is game 2 of this 1996 World Series, beginning at 7 o'clock right here on Fox. It's Jimmy Key and Greg Maddux. Here's Raines, his first at bat of the night. Looks at ball 1. Raines took over for Strawberry in the 7th inning. Darrell was 0 for 3 while he was in there.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about, or Darryl Strawberry commented about the unselfishness of the Yankee players. And when you consider the people that we were talking about, Wade Boggs, Tim Raines, Darryl Strawberry, Cecil Fielder, guys who are getting up there a little bit in age, it probably didn't hurt to give them a rest from time to time, and it probably improved all their productivity by having a little more rest. And Raines was one of those guys that finished very strong for the Yankees, hit 7 home runs in the final month of the season.
Well, now a fan gets loose on the field that we will not show you, so it gives us a perfect chance to do a little. There, perfect. Back to work. 2 out, nobody on. 1-2 to Raines. He pops it up right at home plate. Lopez fires his mask right into the gut of Tim Raines unintentionally. Injury to insult after 8 in Yankee Stadium. 12-1 Atlanta. Well, Tim Raines fouled out to end the 8th inning. And it's only funny because he's all right.
Jeez.
No, you got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes, and I'm sure Timmy's okay right there.
First baseman.
But Javier Lopez had no idea Tim was anywhere near him. He threw his mask, caught the ball, and Tim Raines took the brunt of the blow.
You teach the catcher to throw that mask out of the way where you know you're not going to step on it. I guess he figured if it was in Tim Raines' pocket, he wouldn't be stepping on it.
Aldrete takes over in right. Wetland takes over on the mound. Fifth pitcher of the night for New York, and he faces Fred McGriff. McGriff has had a good night, 2 out of 4, including a home run, his 4th of the postseason. Hit 28 during the regular season. The count 2-0. 9th inning of a 12-1 game, and a chance for Joe Torre to get John Wetland a little work. It's been a week since the Yankees have played a real game, as McGriff cuts it loose 2-1. And you got to keep these closers sharp, so Wetland gets the inning here in the blowout.
Joe, I'm sure it feels like a week to the Yankees since this game started.
It has not been pretty since the early innings. 2 runs in the second, 6 in the third.
Hold it a second or what?
It's been all Atlanta in game 1. 2 balls and a strike from Wetland. One of the game's best deals, and it's 2-2.
Chris Chambliss to the right talking to Doc Gooden and Joe Girardi. I believe that's Joe Girardi.
That is.
Yeah. Chris Chambliss interviewing for the California Angels job, as a matter of fact.
McGriff strikes out to start the 9th inning. Fred McGriff went deep back in the 5th inning, and he let everybody hear it.
Sounded like Lionel Hampton.
Playing the foul pole, and McGriff comes up empty here to start the 9th inning. That'll bring in Lopez.
Those are 2 bad sounds for a pitcher. Bat hitting ball and ball hitting foul pole.
It's ball 1 to Javi Lopez. That was against Bullringer. He came on in relief of Pettit in the 3rd. Bullringer went 3 innings, allowed 5 runs on 5 hits. It's down the line in right, and out of play off the bat of Lopez, 1-1.
And Andy Fox colliding with right field umpire Jerry Davis. Jerry looking in the stands. Andy putting on the brakes and skidding into Jerry Davis. Whoa.
That's a clip, isn't it?
Boggs has been hit by a broken bat. Raines gets hit in the gut with a flying mask out of the hand of Javi Lopez. Jerry Davis almost gets pulled down by Andy Fox. Now Lopez off the end of the bat to Raines. His first chance in left field. 2 out here in the top of the 9th. Lopez, the NLCS most valuable player, will end the night 1 out of 4.
Wetland showing that good sharp curveball that he had even in his early days when he came up with the Dodgers. Good opportunity for him to kind of work on some things out there tonight, and it appears that he's got that curveball about as sharp as you can get it.
Jimmy Key will be on the mound tomorrow night for New York, and they will need a good one out of the veteran left-hander.
Something has just occurred to me. Do you realize that Andrew Jones is only 7 years older than Jeffrey Mayer?
But he needed no help from the mayor in this
No.
game 1.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Giuliani.
The other mayor. There he is.
Mayor Giuliani.
Well, we said Andrew Jones was a 5-tool player. Unfortunately, Jeffrey Mayer is only a 1-tool player, and he didn't even catch the ball.
Well, it took us 8 2/3 innings, but we've made our first Jeffrey Mayer reference. 2 out, nobody on. Die, strike 2. Jermaine 1 out of 4 with a hit his last time up. McGriff struck out. Lopez flied out. Good breaking ball. Dye laid off. The count 2-2. Two out, nobody on, and that'll give us a chance to explain who Jeffrey Mayer is for those who don't know.
He was the young 12-year-old that leaned over the stands. Derek Jeter, Tony Tarasco, the right fielder of the Baltimore Orioles. This was game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Jeffrey Mayer reaching over. Richie Garcia, the right field umpire, saying it was a home run. And that was obviously disputed by the replay.
That tied the game.
Yeah.
And it went into extra innings, a game that was won by New York in the 11th inning on a home run by Bernie Williams.
That put the Yankees up 1-0. Baltimore winning the next game, and then the Yankees went on to win 3 in a row in Baltimore. Jeffrey Mayer was on every talk show in the country, it seemed like.
Not many out there to help right now. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Dye. Beefed up the security out beyond the outfield wall because of what we just showed you. Dye is having a pretty good at bat against Wetland. Count stays 3-2. Atlanta, the 12 runs on 13 hits. The Yankees 1 run on only 4 hits. That hat has been through everything. Dye goes right through that pitch. And the top of the 9th inning is history. 12-1 Atlanta into the bottom of the 9th. We're into the bottom of the 9th inning here at Yankee Stadium. Game 1 of the 1996 World Series with Atlanta out in front by 11. Eddie Perez takes over behind the plate. Javi Lopez the rest of the night off, and out on the mound taking over for Nagel, who pitched a perfect inning. It's Terrell Wade. 5-0 during the regular season. Limited work during the postseason, which shouldn't come as a surprise with the kind of starting pitching the Braves have. And then their late inning guys, McMichael and Wohlers, have had most of the work. Going to have a pinch hitter to start the inning. Charlie Hayes will come off the bench and bat in the number 7 spot. He'll bat for Aldrete. So Aldrete gets a half inning of defensive work. Does not get the at bat. Instead, it's Charlie Hayes facing the lefty Wade. Up there, Hackett into right field for Jermaine Dye. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 9th inning. We've had a lot of fun bringing you game 1 of the 1996 World Series. Don't forget, game number 2 is coming up tomorrow night. Jimmy Key and Greg Maddux. Telecast begins at 7 o'clock. Senior coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox. And the producer of today's game is John Filippelli. Today's game directed by Bill Webb. Great work as usual. The pregame produced by David Banks and directed by Jim Lynch. The executive producers of Fox Sports are David Hill and Ed Gorin. Special thanks to our entire Fox crew, including Steve Horn up here in the booth. Another fan off the bench to bat for Andy Fox. So we're seeing them all here in game 1. So Soho bats for Fox against Wade. And then we'll have Leyritz next. 1 out, nobody on. 12-1 Atlanta. Ball 1 to Soho, who is mainly used as a defensive replacement for Mariano Duncan at second base during this postseason. 1-1. Fielder hitless tonight, 0 for 4. Yankees have only 4 hits. Strike 2 outside corner to Soho. Boggs the only RBI tonight for the Yankees. To the left side for Belliard. 2 out. And the Braves are 1 out away from wrapping up their first victory of the 1996 World Series, and it's not going to be Wade to wrap it up. Instead, Bobby Cox is going to go to the right-hander Brad Klontz. So the 5th pitcher of the night into the game for Atlanta with 2 out here in the ninth. We are in the bottom of the 9th inning. 2 out, nothing shaken for the Yankees, down 12-1. Game 1, and Brad Klontz into the game. First pitch, ground ball is just foul, according to the first base umpire, Terry Tatum. Leyritz didn't think so.
That looked like a fair ball. Oh, that's fair ball.
That is
over the bag.
Ball.
Over the bag.
In his haste to get out of the way of that pitch, I don't think he got a real good look at that. Ball went right over the bag. Even appeared to hit chalk on the far side of the base.
Could have, yep.
Leyritz immediately took his helmet off and started to plead his case. It fell on deaf ears. Now with 2 out, nobody on, he pops it into right, and that should do it. Jermaine Dye is there. The Yankees amass only 1 run on 4 hits, and the Atlanta Braves win game number 1 of the 1996 World Series, 12-1. There is our Chevrolet player of the game. It's Andrew Jones, who had 3 hits, including a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer. By the time he hit his 3-run home run, this game was just about over. A 12-1 Atlanta win.
Joe, in the American League Championship Series, the Yankees were held